Hey everybody,
Hey,
it's Tuesday.
welcome back.
Welcome back to the Wildfire live stream.
Good to have you
It's
back.
wonderful to have everybody with us for another fun little night.
Without further ado. 2, 3, 4. Come stop your crying, it'll be alright. Just take my hand and hold it tight. I will protect you from all around you. I will be here, don't you cry. For what's so small, you seem so strong. My arms will hold you, keep you safe and warm. This bond between us can't be broken. I will be here, don't you cry. Welcome, Grace. 'Cause you'll be in my heart. Yes, you'll be in my heart. You did a good job on the trailer. Seriously, it looks great.
Good.
Sorry I haven't replied. You'll be in my heart. No matter what they say. Welcome, Angelica Falco. You'll be here in my heart. Always. Let's do one more. Why can't they understand the way we feel? They just don't trust what they can't explain. I know we're different, but deep inside us, we're not that different at all. That's enough.
Alright.
We were feeling
A
it.
bit of an anticlimax.
Bit of an anticlimactic.
Anticlimax. Hello everybody. Welcome back to the Wildfire live stream.
Welcome back, welcome back.
A very happy National Best Friend Day to you, brother.
It's good to have you as a friend and a brother and
A roommate. A flatmate.
creative partners.
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Time to time.
In due time.
We should do Time After Time next. That's a good song. Yeah, super stoked to bring back the heat this week. Ray Savaya
Well, we don't have to bring back the heat.
on the next Wildfire Live. Ray's an Iraqi filmmaker from Toronto, Canada. He arrived in Canada as an infant when his parents escaped Iraq during the Gulf War in 1991 as refugees. We'll be asking him where he's from again, but I've already said it once now, so everybody kind of knows. Maybe we can skip that question. Prior to directing, Ray's work as a film editor has been accepted into countless film festivals, including Cannes, TIFF, VIFF, and LA Shorts Fest. Ray has worked as an assistant editor on numerous films and TV shows, including Orphan Black and the Steven Soderbergh-produced TV series The Girlfriend Experience with Auteur's Amy Seimetz and Lodge Kerrigan.
Ray's comedic debut won a short film competition for Jimmy Kimmel Live, and he was also selected as a couch gag guest writer for the 24th season finale of The Simpsons. And Ray's web series Runaways was featured at Fan Expo Canada and reached over 1 million views online.
Kamehameha!
Very cool.
Ray's dramatic debut, Newborn, was inspired by the personal struggle of Middle Eastern identity in Western culture. It has been recognized by over 20 film festivals, including the Academy Awards accredited Bermuda International Film Festival, and was the National Grand Prize winner of the CBC Short Film Face-Off. Go Ray, go. Yeah, I mean, everybody who's joined already, and looking forward to whoever's going to join as well for a fun and exciting conversation with Ray to discuss what's gone into his career as a director, the experiences he's had as a film editor in the Canadian film industry, and so much more. It's June 8th. It's 8 p.m. I think we should bring Ray in.
It's 8:04.
And without further ado,
There he is.
welcome Ray.
Welcome.
Hey!
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm good. I've never been live before, so this is nice.
Nice.
Well, welcome. This is
Will make you feel very comfortable.
yes, very comfortable. Hopefully,
I've met Jade before, but I haven't met Nick, I don't think.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How's it going?
Good, yeah. Good to have you. Good to meet you.
Good. Cool.
We're live. I've met so many live.
Are you guys at work at what's it called?
no, we're in our we're roommates, so we share an apartment here at Yonge and Eglinton. So we have, our creative space
idea
here.
board.
We've got our idea board, typewriter.
That's
up.
awesome.
We've got
Oh wow.
Fight Club
What's that?
over
Oh,
here.
Fight Club. That's a good movie. Classic.
You said you went from great to good. Do you think it's a great movie or a good movie?
I mean, because I said I was gonna say great, but then I was like, I haven't seen it in a long time. I was like, I don't know if I have a different opinion on it now. I seen it in high school and thought it was great. And I was like,
I would say, I,
yeah,
yeah.
I haven't seen it in so long, but I'm sure. Well, the thing is, you know what? I saw Mr. Robot, the first season, and as I was watching it, everyone was saying how great Mr. Robot is, and it is good. But I kept thinking, I was like, I think I've seen this before. Fight Club. This is Fight Club, the show.
Have you watched Mr. Robot?
No.
Nick hasn't watched it.
It's a lot like, I don't know, when I watched it, I just kind of was like, it's a great show, but this has been done. And it's,
Right.
I mean, it's, I'm open to it being a show, but it was interesting. I don't know. Maybe I'm completely wrong, but I just, like, I'm going from two different, like, I watched Fight Club in high school, and then I watched Mr. Robot when it came out, which is a while ago now, but I remember it being very similar.
Our director, Greg Holmes, the real Greg Holmes, not the fake Greg Holmes, is saying yup in agreement. So I believe
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Greg knows his stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're a big fan of Fight Club and you didn't watch Mr. Robot?
Oh, I'm not a big fan of Fight Club.
Neither am I.
Oh, you guys just have the poster?
It was gifted.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm a lukewarm fan. I like David.
David Fincher is great. Who doesn't like David Fincher? Another thing too is that I'm a big believer in, if you have a poster in your apartment or place, you don't have to love it. You know what I mean? Like, I have a poster of The Good, the Bad, the Ugly.
Right.
It's not my favorite movie, but it's a great, beautiful poster. I really like it, like the poster. And I like that it's like cinema history, you know, Clint Eastwood, and that's about it.
Greg is saying love Mr. Robot, but yeah, it's very, very Finch-esque.
There you go. Yeah. I'm
well,
glad someone agrees with me. It makes me feel better because I was like, you know what? Maybe I'm wrong and I don't want to be called out, but that makes me feel better. So I'm like, well, there you go. Someone agrees with me there.
So we have quite a few questions lined up for you. Are you ready to begin?
As ready as I can be, I guess. Go easy on me, guys. You know.
I'll get Nick started up. National
Am
best.
I too close? Is my face too close? Should I? All right.
Oh.
There you go.
Good. It's National Best Friend Day, so.
Oh, are you guys best friends?
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
nice.
Who else I would call my best friend? Say that.
That's
true. That's true.
This would be a great opening to a movie, is that I ask you guys that question, then one of you guys say yes, and then one of you guys say no. And then it cuts to the title, Best Friends, and then we watch the movie. And then we see
conflict.
the conflict at the opening scene, and that's the title, and then it's like, you know, go from there.
Hari! No, I'm sorry. Hari is my best friend. I'm
Nope.
sorry. Nick is not my best friend. Hari is my best friend. I'm sorry, Hari. No, Hari. Hari, you are my best friend. Don't worry.
Good old is.
Hari's 1A. Nick's 1B.
Well, let's just say I'd be the one who said yes because I don't really have a social life. So I only see Jade. Jade has all these different circles.
Oh,
you know what? The term best friend is outdated. We're all pals.
That's true. What was 2020 like for Ray?
It was fine. I mean, it was whatever. You know, obviously, I made it. I try to be as positive as I can be, and you know, take a break from life. Meditate. Sometimes you need that in life, and yeah. Yeah, I guess in 2020 I had a roommate, and when you're living with a roommate in COVID and you're not best friends, you're just roommates, sitting alone with someone, you know, and he was new too. So it was a tad awkward at times, but we made it through. And then at one point he said, you know what, I just need personal space, you know, because it's a small place, you know, it's like, you know, downtown Toronto, and just like, you're paying for the location, but the space is so small. And then when you can't leave it and there's two people, it's very intense. And it's just kind of like bumping into each other. And then he ended up leaving. So me living alone was very tough at first, but it was also very freeing. And knock on wood, I'm still living alone. Yeah. So that's a big change from 2020.
There we go.
Yeah.
How's 2021 been for you?
Good.
Oh,
I wish I had something more interesting to say. I just finished a show in 2021. I edited on a new show called Surreal Estate. It's on Sci-Fi, coming out soon, and I'm excited to see that blossom. And it's a really interesting show. I'm a big horror fan. I like all the genres, to be honest, but horror is a, classic. Can't have cinema without horror. And Surreal Estate is a Canadian show. It's on Sci-Fi, and as a horror fan, they did shots in cinematography matching old horror movies.
Oh.
And the opening scene is one of my favorite movies, Psycho. And when I got on that show and they shot that scene, I saw it, I got goosebumps. I was like, it's exactly like, like The Window. And then they also did The Exorcist, the opening scene of The Exorcist as well. And that it's like the cover of Exorcist. And little things like that. It's like, oh, wow, if you saw that movie, I don't know. I think it's cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
What got you interested in film in the first place?
As a job, I guess. I guess in film in general. I mean, I remember someone in one of my professors back in the day. He described himself. He was saying something about a film, about what he didn't like about the film. And then he described himself almost like as a profession. He was like, as a movie maker and as a movie watcher, this is how I feel.
Right.
And I couldn't stop laughing at movie watcher. I go, who's not a movie watcher? Like, I don't know. Isn't everyone from birth exposed to film? Like, I'd be interested to meet someone who just never watched a TV show or something as a kid or something. But as far back as I remember, doesn't everyone watch, Disney films and, TV shows and that type of stuff? I mean, as a kid, the big movie as a kid, as far back as I can remember, probably the biggest impression on me is The Lion King, and it still is. I can't remember if I watched it in theaters or not, but I remember I had a birthday that was themed to The Lion King when I was a young lad, and loved that film. But yeah, as a profession, as a career, probably hits you in high school when you're pressured to figure out what you want to do. I guess we're all around the same age. I'm 30, born 91. In high school, really big around that time was DVDs.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone had DVDs, and everyone had they were like promoted of like double disc, triple disc, and you get the director commentary. And I feel like that's lost now. I don't think it's as popular now.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember just buying movies that I was like, oh, I heard about this and heard about that. And it was Pulp Fiction and Clerks. I got those, I think, the same day. Just out of like, I think I heard about this movie somewhere or something. And then it was like a 2-disc, you buy both of them for like whatever deal. And I'm like, great, sounds good. And then just watching the behind the scenes of those really kind of hit me big time, especially Clerks, seeing Kevin Smith. And I almost feel like as filmmakers and even as just like public people, we don't like to show everything about ourselves, but not Kevin Smith. That guy had put like every moment of his life making Clerks into that box set, to the point of like, almost like, why did you show this? Like, you're showing the parts that you probably shouldn't show to the public, how his anxieties, and just kind of like, oh, a lot of people told me this point was so profound, but I just made it up on the spot type of thing, where it's like, take the compliment. You know what I mean? Like, why do you even want to show that? And another movie I bought at the same time, it was Saw, the movie Saw, and James Wan. And that guy, his upbringing of getting in the film industry, a lot of it's kind of like winning the lottery in a lot of ways, but a lot of it is the big thing I have to say is that seeing like James Wan, Kevin Smith, and Tarantino when I was in high school, those like behind the scenes of just seeing that these were just guys, you know what I mean? Like they were not geniuses, they were not profound, you know, they were just, you know, had a dream and they go, yeah, it couldn't have not worked out, but I just tried it and it worked out.
Yeah.
And just seeing that, I was like, you know what? If I get into this and I can make a living off it and not become, you know, a famous director, I mean, that's almost good enough. You know what I mean? Just that I'm, you know, from there. And knock on wood, slowly and surely, make a film at a time and see where it goes, see where it takes you, you know? Yeah.
What other types of art are you interested in, and can you name some of those other influential artists?
That even goes way back. I mean, as a kid, young elementary school, stuff like that. I was and still am obsessed with The Simpsons, and I
As we
guess
know,
another and I guess another thing that I find interesting is that um, we're all products of our time as well. It's like I grew up in the 90s, and what were the big shows? What was the big things happening in the 90s?
right?
Chances are that's going to affect me because that's when I was born. And people
Pokemon.
being born, exact, and like the Japanese anime boom, you know what I mean? It was Dragon Ball, Pokemon, Sailor Moon. It's like, oh yeah, I loved all that stuff. And there's new stuff coming out. It's funny how like there's new anime. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care. It's just like I'm like I liked what was nostalgic to me. Yeah, I guess other stuff that I liked is that I love drawing. That was the big thing. I actually thought I was going to become an artist, cartoonist. I drew The Simpsons. I drew Dragon Ball a lot. You know, as in elementary school.
My best friend Hari's the same. He thought he was going to become an animator.
Yeah, and I loved comedy. I loved the art of comedy. I was studying before I even knew I was studying it. I was like I got Delirious, Eddie Murphy on DVD, and I watched that. And I watched it a few times, I remember, and just kind of seeing like his performance and stuff like that. Um, yeah, I like stand up, and yeah, and I remember like reading a lot about Matt Groening and just thinking like, oh man, that guy really, you know, did it. He was, and I remember watching like a mini documentary on The Simpsons, and I was just kind of blown away by Matt Groening's like lifestyle. He literally said that he picked a college literally because he found out the college doesn't do grades, and he just did it like because he felt he needed to. And then he goes, yeah, I was drawing. And the thing about him is that he has a style, but he's not an amazing artist. You know what I mean? And then he kind of says in the documentary of the making The Simpsons, he was like, yeah, I just kind of drew and I just did little funny jokes, and he became like an underground comic artist.
Right.
And I just was so inspired by like people just go for it. You know what I mean? People don't have like I'm the type of person who got anxiety and just being like, what if it doesn't, what if I pour all my money into this and then I get nothing out of it? You know, I remember having that in high school, and that even as a kid growing up being like, how could someone say that, you know? But yeah, that was probably like the two biggest thing, like comedy and drawing, where and that's why like Matt Groening was like a huge hero for me growing up, and just like Googling his name when internet was first coming out and stuff like that, and just trying to find everything about him, because I was like, comedy and drawing, that's what Matt Groening is, and that's what The Simpsons is, animated comedies. And Simpsons started it, and then obviously I started following all of them, like King of the Hill, South Park, Family Guy. You know, I got really into that. I'm sure a lot of people did our age, you know? Yeah.
I was a little bit late to South Park. I feel like I appreciated that more when I was like 19, 20, but I definitely grew up on The Simpsons, Family Guy, and, you know, Futurama, all that good stuff. Fast forward to your experiences at Sheridan, the Getting Started, and you got into the media arts program there, which is a highly competitive program where you got to be around a lot of other talented artists. So I'm just curious about what was it like to get into that program? What was the experience like there, the atmosphere? Yeah, just like having your friends where all these artists get to work on your stuff, on your projects.
Yeah, I should give a shout out to, that was a very almost pivotal moment in my life. And I have to give a shout out to a guy named Corey Main. He was from my hometown, and he worked at Pixar.
Okay.
And he came to do a speech at my high school. And I just could not believe that. I was
Right.
like, someone from my hometown in Southern Ontario works at Pixar. And that's just impossible. And another thing too, I'm sure people with a lot of comes from like smaller towns or not Toronto. I almost say teachers are not like inspiring. Like they just like a lot of them told me, "Oh, you shouldn't move." like who are you to say that? Like, but no, Corey Main. I remember I talked to him after that speech, and I was so like. And another thing too, my friend, my like one of my best friends growing up is a guy named Nick, and his sister was friends with Corey Main. Nick, there you go. And she got me to meet him and stuff like that. And I remember talking to him outside of that speech he did, but sitting down with him and really talking about him, he told me about Media Arts and Sheridan and stuff like that. And I remember Corey Main's personality is very blunt, and it was exactly what I needed to hear at that moment in time. And I just remember being like, but then I have to move out. Like, I remember like thinking that as a kid, and being like, if I move to Sheridan, then I have to move out if I get accepted. And he's like, dude, if you're not going to move out, then what are you doing? Like, it's like, it was just kind of like something like very blunt, almost, some could say like maybe even a little rude, but I was just like, oh, like, I was like, oh yeah. I was like, but no, it was almost like the thing to wake me up. But luckily, the first time I applied, I didn't get accepted. And that's something to everyone out there. If you don't get accepted to like a prestigious program, you know, it's not the end of the world. And if you really want it, you can apply again, and you can do it again. And I went to University of Windsor, and yeah, I did film theory. And I actually think that was a great year of my life, because I remember meeting a professor at University of Windsor who was so anti-establishment media.
Oh, okay.
And he showed me a film called Real Bad Arabs. And especially as someone who's Middle Eastern, he just showed like how much media changes the way people think, and perception of Middle Eastern people in the media, and especially in North America, in Hollywood and stuff like that. And I remember that was such a big deal. But anyways, that was a great year. And then I applied again the next year in Sheridan, and I got accepted. And that was a huge deal for me. And then, yeah, and working with, what could I say about Sheridan? A lot of people don't like, Sheridan is an art school. It's a film school. And it's very competitive, and everyone there is very competitive. At the end of the day, you have to make your mark. You know what I mean? Like, you have to prove yourself, because I felt like my first year at Sheridan, I was this guy from not Toronto, and everyone was from Toronto in the GTA, and they all sort of knew each other. It's just kind of like, and they all made stuff, you know what I mean? Like, they all had stuff under their belts. And I had like, my experience was like film theory. And I was like, oh, I volunteered on some sets, but I don't have a lot of stuff under my name. So, in the program itself is very competitive, and you can't be scared. You know what I mean? Like, I started making friends. I started asking them, being like, do you want to shoot? Because I'm more in editing. I found someone who's into cinematography. I found someone who was into writing, and someone into set design, or whatever it is.
Right.
And I just you almost put your heart out on the line, being like, this means a lot to me. I talked to this guy who wants to do a music video. You know what I mean? Would you want to be part of it? You know, I'd be directing, you'd be shooting, and blah, blah. And if you're honest with people, you know what I mean? Like, at the time, I remember like thinking like my classmates are so much better on a higher level than me, or whatever it is. But if you just tell them whatever and how you're going to do it, and what your budget is, and how much and I'm putting money into this, or whatever it is, people respond to honest, you know, like, you're not bullshitting them. And a big thing I always say is, when I'm telling them, like, I don't know if it's going to be great. Like, I am telling you what I'm doing that I hope is going to be great, you know, and I'm going to tell you about the amount of work that I'm putting into it. So I almost feel like as long as you're aware of that, what you're signing up for, I'd appreciate it, you know? And from then on, I started making music videos with the classmates and then slowly networking and stuff like that. And it was super competitive. And I'd almost say like Sheridan professors, I love film school. Like I loved it. I thought it was a blast. I thought it was such a rush. I thought it was everything. I thought it was like scary, but also amazing, you know, and also terrifying and amazing, you know? And in film school in Sheridan, everyone has to have their film done this day. They wrote and directed it. We're playing all of them. And the professors are going to talk crap in front of everyone. And guess what? Your classmates who are your friends are going to talk shit about your film if it's not good.
Yep.
So it was a funny thing, but it was fun. It was I don't think I have bad blood with anyone. It was just kind of like, we're all doing the same thing. It's kind of like it was understood, and you have friends forever. There you go. And it was a great experience.
Are there any colleagues from that time that you'd like to shout out that may have given your projects an extra boost or helped guide you along the way?
Yeah, sure. Vaishni Majumdar, Angelica Falco,
Friend of the show.
Friend of the
friend
show.
of the show. She's a friend of the show. Yeah. Tons of people. Yeah. But yeah, a lot of them are. I remember like Andrew Thiessen did all like the effects on Runaways. You know what I mean? And he was from Sheridan. It's just kind of like, sometimes I don't even talk to some of my Sheridan friends, but then it's kind of like if I'm making something or whatever it is, it's really not that weird to give them a call. You know, hey, Nick Grimshaw's from Sheridan. How would you like to do music? What would you do with this much budget or whatever it is? Would you be down? You know what I mean? And I haven't talked to him in a while, but you know, it's like stuff like that. Something funny about, I want to mention about something funny about Sheridan.
Yeah.
Is that everyone, you guys remember American Idol back in the day when it was like Paula, Randy, and Simon Cowell? It was like a straight up format. In Sheridan College, it was Ian Thompson, John Neller, and Stephen Barden. Hey, Dalal. And I felt like that was American Idol. And it was like, Ian Thompson was always like Randy. Like, he was like, okay, this is so-so. You know what I mean? Like, this is good, that's bad. John Neller loved everything. He always looked at the positives of everything. And Stephen Barden would always go last, and he would just destroy your movie. And just kind of like the funniest thing. But you learned a lot. So nothing but love towards Sheridan. Shout out to my professors and all of my classmates. And it was an amazing experience. And
Natural
segue to everyone who goes there. Yeah.
Your work at Sheridan to your work in the Canadian film industry as an editor. Just some of the projects that you've been able to be on over the years. The Girlfriend Experience, Cavendish, and the one and only Orphan Black with the just, yeah, I mean, getting your feet wet in the industry, being in the DGC as a first assistant editor. Just kind of curious about what your day-to-day tasks are and what like you have to tackle with a job like that. And yeah, and then I have a few other
day-to-day tasks of a first assistant editor. I don't know if that's that exciting. But no, it's you know what, first assist editing is like a little bit of everything. It's like you're kind of handling the footage when it comes in. You know what I mean? Comes in, you're after the DMT, you see it, and you have to approve it. You have to sign off on it, and it's your name. You know, so if there's something wrong with it and you sign off on it, that's a bad thing. You know, so I almost feel like a lot of it comes with experience. And my first time getting assistant editing gigs, the anxiety was through the roof because it's a lot on you. Where it's like if anything goes, it's almost like if make sure nothing goes wrong. That's a lot of it. You know, it has to go offset. And it has to go to the people who are going to make it on air. If there's an issue, a lot of it is on you because the editors aren't looking at that. The editors are looking at the footage, but they're mostly like doing a lot of the creative side of it, where it's like the first assistant editor is creative and it's technical, where you have to check if there's something wrong. If there's, let's say, a few frames off, for audio, which happens on big shows. If there's any issue with the video or stuff like that, it's like, and the thing is too, if there's something, you have to set up, like, you have to help the editors make the show go as smoothly as possible. And I remember, like, one of my first gigs, if something isn't going wrong, there's a producer there, a director there, editors there. They go, Ray, this isn't working.
Right.
The amount of a second feels like 2 hours. You know what I mean? It's like, because it's just kind of like, what if you don't know? What if you don't? And everyone's looking at you, and it's a high pressure job, and other people are looking for this job too. So it's like they could fire you and find someone else easily. But no, at the end of the day, thank God, I made it through so many shows, and I've seen every bad thing that's happened. So it's a very easy job at this point. So for me, and I'm very confident in it. So it's like, you check the footage, you deal with the footage, you prep the footage, you prep the editors, you make sure everything goes smoothly, and then when you turn it over, you turn it over to the producers and all the other people. That's like almost the base technical side. And day to day, you have to make sure everything goes smoothly. And every day something goes wrong. Every other day, whatever it is. And it comes with like experience of like, how do you work Avid? Avid is the main editing program. You have to know that program inside and out. And you have to be honest. Sometimes the answer is, we tried everything. You know what I mean? There's been one circumstance where I literally said, and you have to be firm and you have to be confident, because I know my stuff, where it's like, we tried everything, not working. It's going to take a few more hours. So we're going to have to like cancel today. You know what I mean? Like, or whatever it is, because we have producers coming in. We're going to have to cancel that, because I have tried every emergency button or whatever it is. So it's like things like that, where it's like, you have to be prepared. And if you're not confident what you're saying, if you're kind of like, I don't know what's happening, it's not good. You know what I mean? In a professional setting, you have to know what's going on. And you have to explain it to people in most simplest matter, where it's like, this is what's happening with the Avid and whatever it is, and this is how we're going to fix it. And sometimes it takes longer than expected, and it's really messed up right now, or whatever it is. But the other great thing about first assist editing is that you're so tight with your post crew, editors, post supers. And I have to say, you do a lot of creative stuff too. You do a lot of sound mixing, you do a lot of music, sometimes you cut scenes, right, and you're prepping to be an editor. And there was one movie a while ago. I remember I worked with this great editor, and her and I just worked so hard from morning till night, literally from like 8 a.m. to like 10 p.m. every day. And it's just kind of like, almost like in the trenches, as they say, of just kind of like, almost like help cutting scenes together. And as an editor, she would be my superior, and then she would go back and be like, this is not good. Like, you need to do this again. And it was just kind of like, that's the worst, that you never want to hear that. It's just kind of like, but then you work hard on it, and then you make it so much better, and then you work close with the editor. And it was just kind of like, when it's done, you kind of look back and you're like, we did that, So yeah, it's a great job. It's a great gig. It's a great career. And yeah, I love editing.
So working on the post side of things, what advantages do you find there are being an editor when it comes to putting the director hat on and working on that?
And by the way, if I'm going too far, if I'm going too long with my answers, feel free to like cut me off or go make a symbol or something like that, or do this or something.
Oh,
yeah, or something. If I ramble on too much. So differences between. Am I doing good? Am I doing all right? Yeah. Differences between directing and editing. Is that what the main question is?
No, or like the advantages of having edited on so many projects, and then bringing that skill set to when you're directing, and knowing how to direct as you know how to edit.
Oh yeah, I guess we'll get into this later, but for a newborn, I would say that's probably thanks a lot. That's probably like the biggest influence, a huge influence on newborn. If I wasn't in editing, that short film would probably be way different. And so much of my editing comes in directing, and obviously I love set. I'm an outgoing person in general, so set is not that crazy for me. But when we were in the editing room during my short films, I feel really comfortable, and I know what could work and what notes to give and what how, like, pacing. That's the biggest thing, and the difference of giving an emotional moment more time and hitting the right notes and right reactions can make or break a movie. And I am, in a way, it's like everything happens for a reason in life, I guess. It's like, I remember, I love both editing and directing, but I remember sometimes thinking like, oh man, if I can just direct full time, I don't like, I'm editing too much or whatever it is. But then I go into editing, I go direct something, and my films come out so much better because because I know all that stuff. I know it's gonna work, and I know when a take needs another take, or or we got it type of thing. Whereas I've worked with, unfortunately, so many directors as an editor, and who've never cut anything ever in their life.
Right.
And then we're sitting in the editing room, and they're missing stuff, and the reaction isn't there, or the line isn't there, and it's like, I don't want to say it, but it's almost like I know immediately. I'm like, you've never cut, but I can see from your footage you've never cut anything before in your life. Because if you cut anything before in your life, this won't work. You know these shots that you got wouldn't work together. So as an editor, sometimes you have to think outside of the box of how can I make this work, or how can I make something different out of this, from what's given. Sometimes that ends up being great stuff too, and but any director who ends up like that, and who knows, we're not perfect. Sometimes that always happens in film, is that it's super exciting. I always say one of the greatest moments in filmmaking ever. If you want to become a filmmaker, this is the most awesome moment ever, is when, as a director, you're sitting with an editor. The director has an idea. You have a different idea. You guys are kind of butting heads, or respectfully disagreeing or explaining your points. And then you're thinking a thing, and you're like, wait a minute, but if we lose some of that and do some of this, and then you guys go, and then it's like, oh my God, aha. And it's like, you do it, and it's like, we just got the movie. You know what I mean? It's almost like
Conflict is good.
the aha moment, And it comes from that. It comes from disagreements. It comes from stuff like that. And that is some of the greatest moments ever. And you can totally see a movie being, that's almost like, that's the moment the movie is made. When that moment, you stitch that together, you put it together. We were using two different ideas, and now we came up with together. We both came up with this great idea, and now it's elevating the film.
Fix it in post. Thoughts?
Generally speaking, obviously, don't fix it in post. Do it on set, obviously. But obviously, it's a nuanced answer. I'm a laid back person. I mean, on a big show, let's say, okay. I won't say which show, but it was a big show I worked on. Not the footage we got was nonsensical. I was like, how is this going to work? Supposed to be a crazy effect here and there. They didn't even get the shot. They didn't barely got anything. They did it. It looked great. I mean, it worked out. I mean, depends on the circumstance. I have sympathy for a big show like that where it could have worked better. You know what I mean? Obviously, you want to do everything on set, but I always say everything's a little more nuanced than that. Because, for example, on a big show in Canada or in whatever, a producer gives a director 12 hours to get this many shots. You know how much pressure that's under? Sometimes you have to, sometimes they don't want to fix it in post. You know what I mean? Sometimes they want to do it on set, but they don't have the time.
Yeah.
That happens a lot. And
Yeah.
I see it on the other end because we're in editing and we see they definitely didn't get that specific shot.
Right.
So sometimes you guys gotta, it's part of film. It's part of, you know what I mean? But obviously if you can get it on set, and if you can't, we'll try our best. Worst case scenario, someone has to pay budget to reshoot it. So I'm not that, I feel like some people have really hard opinions on that, but it happens so frequently that I feel like, Yeah, obviously don't fix it in post, but if your back's up against the wall, then worst case scenario, you have to reshoot it.
Segue over to
Jimmy Kimmel.
Jimmy Kimmel.
What about it?
James Kimmel. We have, well, first things first, we've heard you're a bit of a Jimmy Kimmel fan, a big Jimmy Kimmel fan.
I guess for anyone who doesn't know, I did a video a while back, and I won a contest and like a comedy competition thing, and they flew me out to see Jimmy Kimmel himself. And it was pretty rad. And it was a cool little video, and yeah.
Welcome Wayne Wells, who will be joining the live stream next Tuesday to the live stream down here. Wayne is a professional stunt coordinator in the industry and has worked on.
Awesome.
We actually just got together some Jimmy Kimmel trivia, so we hope you've studied up.
I haven't, but let's see this. Yeah, and I guess in context, people should know the title of the film that I won is Ray Savaya is a big Jimmy Kimmel fan, and it's on YouTube if anyone wants to see it. And Jimmy Kimmel himself loved it, and it was a highlight in life, I have to say. It was Jimmy Kimmel telling Jimmy Kimmel watching it in front of me and telling me, Ray, you are very funny. was a big deal, and I was like, oh, thank you. You know, especially someone, you know, I studied comedy and stuff like that, and I really revere comedy really well. I think it's so hard to do. People don't realize how hard it is. And I have nothing but respect for comedians. But yeah. Right. Let's do the trivia.
Let's start off with the easy one. What actor does Jimmy Kimmel have a playful rivalry with?
Matt Damon.
Give him a point.
I have a bell somewhere, don't I?
Classic.
How many seasons has Jimmy Kimmel Live been running?
I'm bad at math, but I think he started in 2003.
I believe that. What is Jimmy Kimmel's middle name?
I have no idea. Michael. Let's go with that. What's that?
Christian,
okay.
What was the first year Jimmy Kimmel hosted the Oscars?
Oh, I have no idea. Let's see. I'll take a guess. I don't know if it was the first time, but he hosted the big one, the Moonlight.
That was the one.
That was the first time he did it. So what year was that? I want to say 2000. Wait a minute. I'll say it. 2017.
Woo! Okay, got
there. You go.
And final question: name an animated film that Jimmy Kimmel has lent his vocal talents.
That's a hard one. I want to say The Secret Life of Pets.
I think that is one. Is that one?
I don't think so.
You guys don't even know. What kind of trivia is this?
Well, there's a few.
We had a few listed.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know for sure. I want to say The Secret Life of Pets. I think he was in that, but I'm not sure. No?
He was in.
I don't know.
The Boss Baby, Teen Titans Go to the Movies, and the unreleased Paw Patrol movie, and Boss Baby 2, which are unreleased.
Okay.
Sequels don't count.
Okay.
But you did you got 3 out of 5. That was lovely.
Thanks, guys. I love late night comedy. Like I said, I love media history as well. I love film history and animation, stuff like that. It's like, as we all are, we're all film nerds, right? And I was just recently watching, CNN did a docuseries on late night television. It's great. I recommend it. It's all about Johnny Carson and Jack Parr starting out late night, and it's like 6 episodes, and every episode goes to like each decade from when it first started to like today with Jimmy Fallon and Kimmel and all them today.
Big reason why I like
it.
It's just like a TV history show compact into a Marvel thing.
CNN has been doing a lot of them. They're doing like the history of sitcoms next after this, so that's a great one. But yeah, I love all the late night hosts. I'd have to say Kimmel and Conan are probably my 2 favorite ones if I had to pick. Conan was like a huge one too, like growing up and staying up. It's always, but like I said, you're a product of your time.
Right.
Who was doing late night when we were in high school? Conan O'Brien, Jimmy Kimmel. You know, it's like those were the guys that were popular at the time.
I was like Letterman because my dad always made me watch Letterman, and like Jim Carrey on Letterman and Chris Farley on Letterman and craziness on Letterman, but also because he was in a battle of the bands in Thunder Bay, and his band lost to Paul Schaefer.
Oh, nice.
So there's like a little bit of trivia there.
Well, Conan would be a good transition into.
Yeah, I think so. Let's just do it. Without further ado, though, let me just, I'm going to do a little media presentation for the viewers watching, just to kind of give them
This is a fun, you guys are very fun. This is a fun show.
So
that's what we'd like to.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, let's go.
Thank you.
Very cool.
A little Canadian round of applause, eh?
Nice, polite, quiet round of applause.
Yes. Thank you.
Too loud. Sorry. Yeah.
I guess keeping in the vein of comedy and writing for comedy,
And animated.
Yeah, all those kind of.
Well, I mean, how did that?
I guess.
How did that all happen? I guess. Yeah. I mean, it was like a writing competition they were having, and they were just like, looking for a couch gag thing, and you submit a written pitch. That's sort of what it is, and I did it, and I was just thinking. Honestly, a lot of it was I almost feel like it was subconsciously concise, because I was just thinking they're going to go through a million of these, number one. So just make it concise, make it, it's just kind of like just logic, because I almost feel like when you hear that someone is making, when The Simpsons is doing like a writing competition, I'd imagine people would get caught up into making it super distinctive or super long, And I just took it from a logic standpoint. I was like, it just needs to be one joke. That's what the couch gags are. It's one gag. It's a couch gag. So I just thought of like this Canadian idea, and I was like, you can just make it super Canadian so it has a theme. And I kept thinking like, what's the joke? And I was like, well, it could have tons of Canadian elements and symbols, and they're all awkwardly sitting there. Then Maggie like breaks the awkwardness and grabs a hockey puck and sucks. Submitted that. They loved it. I got a call. It was very bizarre. And they said the showrunner, Al Jean, who is a writing hero of mine, really liked it. And he said he really wanted to. They told me, he didn't tell me personally, but they told me through him that he really wanted to showcase Canadian fans. He goes, because Simpsons has a huge Canadian fan base, and he said they don't get enough like love from them, and so he thought this is a great opportunity just to have it, and just putting those elements too. Another practical standpoint, I almost feel like to anyone out there writing for competitions, a little secret, maybe I shouldn't share it, but I'll let everyone know in case you guys are interested. If you're ever writing for like stuff like that, something to keep in mind is public domain. So everything I wrote in there was not like copyrighted.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't put Justin Bieber. It's like I put a prime minister because that's public domain. I put a hockey player. I didn't say Wayne Gretzky.
Yeah.
Or whatever it is. It's like stuff like that makes things easier for producers,
right.
Because even as filmmakers, as we know, if you want to write or mention something with a name or whatever it is that is copyrighted, you can do it, but you can put yourself in potential. No one wants to put themselves in that situation to have a confrontation about it, being like, you can't use this or that. Right. So that's a thing as well. Whenever you're writing, you want to keep it. If you're going to mention things in the world or whatever it is, keep it public domain. Mm-hmm. And if you can not mention anything at all and just make it all original from yourself, that's even more plus. So that's a little tidbit for people out there.
But
Just
tip, and also good segue from your writing career. We've talked about your editing career. I think dive headfirst into directing now, and we don't have too much time left. So we might go a little bit over 9 o'clock just to hit everything.
Yeah, sorry about that. I talk a lot. I'm sorry. I told you guys to cut me off.
We'll Kamehameha through this last page of questions.
Sure, let's do it.
All of this away, and at the end of it, we'll be better for it. So working on your project Runaways, which we both watched yesterday. Kudos to you for pulling together a really fun and interesting way of dealing with an IP like Dragon Ball. So what was it like putting your own spin on that material? What were the inspirations to providing kind of that fresh perspective to that world and getting it out to a considerable audience? And yeah, I'm just kind of curious about, I don't know, just the experience of getting that project out there, and then that feeling of seeing that audience see it. A lot of people saw it, and how that built your confidence as a director.
Sure. So yeah, I did the Kimmel thing, I did the Simpsons thing, and it all happened around the same time. I just did I should mention Dragon Ball is my Star Wars. When people said, like in the 1970s, when they watched Star Wars, it blew their mind. In the 1990s, when I watched Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, it just blew my mind. It means a lot to me, that series. And a lot of people say it's not deep. But similar to Star Wars, it's deep to me. You know what I mean? It's like, it's about growing up. It's about, you know what I mean? Like the fantasies of childhood and like the responsibilities of adulthood. So that was just Runaways. When I did Runaways, I just said, I love that opening to Dragon Ball. The opening of Dragon Ball is when this little kid finds out he's basically like Superman. You know, it's Goku. And I just wrote my own version of that. And I just said, let's just have fun. You know what I mean? I'm just going to shoot this. I'm just going to make it cool. I'm going to get a thing. I'm going to get a couple kids. It was really the first time I've ever really directed something with a crew and stuff like that. I directed some comedy stuff. I was really focused in comedy beforehand, and then Runaways was sort of just kind of like me trying something different. I really just wanted to have fun with that. It was just kind of like, let's just do something fun. Put it online. If it gets taken down, who cares, you know? But it meant a lot to me, and it's from a series that meant a lot to me. And I think that was the beginning of really making things sentimental, things making honest to where I'm going with my direction now in my directing career. In Dragon Ball, Akira Toriyama is the writer and artist of Dragon Ball. He's a funny guy, and he put a lot of jokes in Dragon Ball. And there was a big joke with the character of Bulma. She's one of the main protagonists. And in Dragon Ball, the context is when you collect all 7 Dragon Balls, you can make any wish you want. And Akira Toriyama made it almost like a little joke that she's a little girl, that she's a young girl, like 15 in the manga and in the show, is that she wants a boyfriend. That's the thing. And then when I did my version, I was like, can we make it more deep? You know what I mean? Like, I get it was like a little joke when he did it, you know, or whatever it is. So I wanted to put my stamp on it. And it was kind of me discovering of what I like in films. And it's similar with Dragon Ball, and it's similar with The Simpsons. It's similar with comedy films and everything in general, is that I love the heart. I love when it's honest. And Runaways, the big thing I remember was a big self-discovery as a director, is when I changed. It was almost like a fun project, but in the script, I changed it that she wants to wish her mom back to life. And then I had Goku, he wants to wish his grandpa back to life. And that's a conversation that's never happened in the actual, like, thing of Dragon Ball. But I always thought that would be so interesting. If, like, you can take this fantasy concept where you can have any wish you want. And what if you have to make one wish and 2 people want to bring back a dead relative? And what would that conflict be? And that was sort of my stamp on just almost like touching of where I'm going as a director myself.
Okay.
I also wanted to mention the VFX were very well integrated into the real environments, and getting those details right. I would want to know, like, what was your experience like with that, and finding a way to pull off those effects.
Here's a tip for everyone. If you guys want to have good VFX in your short film, call Andrew Thiessen and pay him money.
Making a note.
Andrew Thiessen did the VFX. He was great, and it took a long time to make it great, and it was a lot of redoing and reworking. and he is one of the most talented people I've ever met in my life. And he is a natural talent, and he did all the VFX for Runaways, all of it. And that's Andrew Thiessen, and he's in Toronto, and hire him.
Shout out to Andrew Thiessen. We should hire him.
Well, as a film that needs VFX,
Yeah, Wildfire needs a lot of VFX.
Andrew Thiessen's your guy. Ask him.
Lastly,
Newborn.
yeah, let's hit Newborn.
Newborn.
So
We can go a little over 9 o'clock. It's okay if we need to.
let's take our time with these ones because we have a few questions here. So, yeah, just first and foremost, how did that story come to be for you?
Newborn is almost like it's hard to talk about because it's almost like it was incredibly hard to write because it's almost like you're putting your own diary out to the world. That's like, regardless of what you're going through, do you really want everyone else to be looking at this? You know, it's like, what if I just deal with it for my own sake? But I did it, and it was almost something that I'd have to say that huge hill to climb just emotionally to write something like Newborn. To put yourself out there is almost like conquering fear. And I always say, if you have fear, you should just do it. If you're on the edge of bungee jumping, just jump. You know what I mean? It's like, just go from there. Chances are, that's where the realness is. Right. It's like when I watch films, when I watch art, when I read graphic novels or whatever it is, it's those real moments that really hit you. Right. You know, and a great. My writing professor, I remember, and he didn't say this, but I think someone else, he was quoting someone else, but I'm not sure who said this, but it really stuck with me, where I don't know if it's true, but I try to go with this, where every great drama has great comedy in it, and every great comedy has great drama. And I think a lot of that has to be with like just being real. You know what I mean? Just being real to what it is. Like, let's cut the crap and let's really dig deep into here. What is this about? Say it out loud or whatever it is. And I think that goes with like comedies and drama where, yeah. So anyways, yeah, Newborn was just a personal story of my full name, it being a Middle Eastern name, being Ray Savaya. And I always went by Ray. It's like, why did I prefer that? Why did I like that? And it's obviously about acceptance. I felt accepted going by Ray growing up because being West Asian or Arabic has negative stereotypes, especially after 9/11, which we all grew up with. And that was, you know, probably a very traumatic thing for every slightly brown person, you know, ever. And it's like, you know, you get all that negative stuff, and it's like you almost want to distance yourself from that. And even though Middle Eastern culture can be very beautiful and it's who you are, and it's also the other thing too that's always a hard thing is that, you know, my family calls me by my full name, and that's fine. But going by Ray just was so normal for me, you know what I mean? That it just became I got so used to it that it almost flipped on me later in life, where it's like it almost feels weird going by Ramis sometimes, where it's like I just go by Ray. Everyone calls me that. So I just explored that with Newborn, just really just exploring that. And to me, something I always want to say as well is that, like, I kind of had like the two characters, and shout out to Dalal Bader and Sammy Osman for really making the film come to life. They're awesome. And going from one side of the argument to the other side of the argument. And I always say, like, if you want to be the type of person who wants to like showcase your ethnicity and showcase your culture, that's awesome, you know, or whatever. But if you want to make yourself your own individual and you want to go by something else or whatever it is, or a nickname, that doesn't make you any less Iraqi. It doesn't make you any less, you know, from whatever it is and whatever culture you're from. It's just do whatever makes you happy. You know, it's like do whatever you feel comfortable. And there is something with society where, something I personally believe, your life is easier if your name sounds more English. That's my experience in life. it's just kind of with my personal life. I noticed it, and yeah, I mean, it's a big. We're having this whole racial conversation so often now, and it's a good thing. And I think conversations is really what we need, you know. And I felt like it was great that Newborn turned out the way it did, and it generated tons of conversations. And now it's on Omletto YouTube channel, and you can watch it for free. There you go. And check it out, and check out the comments on there have been great. It's generated conversation, and it's really, that's what the short film is. It's kind of like it's a mother and father picking a name for their baby, and one wanting a more traditional name, and one wanting to go against that, and seeing where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, you put that in like literal real time, because he's been delayed at an airport and he missed. I don't want to spoil anything, but what were some of the hurdles that came along the way in getting it made, before production? Or were there any? Was it easy to get it made?
I mean, it's always I have to give a shout out to Vaishni Majumdar. I remember something, I don't know if she even remembers this, but I remember we were moving forward with it, and we were locking things here and there. And I got kind of scared, being like, maybe we can delay this, maybe, you know what I mean? Because I was like, this is all coming together. And I was paying from my own pocket. I just got a loan, and I was just paying. And then I got anxiety, and I just thought for some reason, like, delaying it would make a difference. And I remember she was kind of like, we're not delaying. Like, we're already paid for it. Like, it's like, then she's like, then we'll figure it out. And I was like, okay. And I just remember it was just kind of like, she's like, you can do it. It's like, it's fine. And I remember that it was just my own anxiety, stuff like that. And I guess we're almost done here, but I'll end on a funny story. Everyone loves this story. I'll share it. Newborn has a newborn baby in it. How do you get a newborn baby? It's not a thing. Okay. So my good friend, shout out to Ryan Parker, he posted online his newborn cousin was just born, and we didn't have a baby for the set, and 2 weeks away we're shooting, and we don't have a baby, and my friend just posted a newborn baby. So I called Ryan and I said the famous words, "Get me that baby." It's like, what are you talking about? But yeah, and anyways, I pitched to him. It was his cousin. I pitched to his cousin's kid, or I pitched to his cousin, who was the father of the baby, and pitched to the baby. And I told him what the scenario was. I sent him the script, and I told him it was a professional set where it's ACTRA approved and stuff like that. So we had a 2-week-old baby on set, and I found out later, or I found it kind of during and while it was happening, that you can't have a human being on a film set less than 2 weeks old. So that is the newest baby you can see on film.
Oh my God.
14 days. You can't have someone younger than that. It's ACTRA rules, it's film rules. You're not allowed. So you're looking at the freshest baby you can see on film, 14 days old. So there you go.
Well, quick run.
That was a huge hurdle. It was a huge problem, but it solved almost like winning the lottery. It was just a chance. Like, my friend just had you know what I mean? So, and that's what film is like sometimes,
Well, just a quick rundown. So shout out to Dalal Badr and Sami Osman, the stars in your film, directing them, realistic and emotional performances. You were able to shoot the film, you got it locked, you got it polished, you got it ready to promote, had a great strategy for getting there, a lot of accolades and crazy film festivals all over the world. CBC Short Film Face Off, you won that. You've got this fund to make another film with. Looking forward to what you create. And you said aptly in a quote once about your passion for directing and staying true to yourself. Can you just speak about how that applies? I guess you already kind of spoke about how that applies to Newborn. You talked about it all already, so you kind of already covered that. So to wrap up, I'll let Nick ask the last question.
But I'll just say again is that's probably, I almost say that line to myself because I'm afraid of it sometimes. Where it's like when I made something like Runaways, it was like Dragon Ball. It's a fantasy. It's kind of like a kids show or whatever. But it meant a lot to me, and I'm like, I can think, I love this. So this is clearly something about it, and what could I do? And with Newborn, it was so scary, kind of putting out my own thoughts and feelings out there. And it's like, if you stay true to yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that, it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out good if it does that, because I look at the artists that I see, and films that I watch, and when you see something authentic, it hits home way more. And even when you talk about genres like sci-fi or fantasy, what is the actual point of it? It's usually something so human, and so that it's something everyone can relate to. And that's the best parts of it. So yeah, stay true to yourself. It's something I need to repeat to myself so that I can make it for my next projects, of like, if there's any fear with everyone else as well.
Right.
There you go. Yay, we're done.
Well, we just want to say, thank you for all the honest answers, and you did great in your live stream debut. So
Wonderful candor.
Thank you. I hope I didn't talk. I hope we were around 9 o'clock. We did it. I hope I didn't talk too much.
Hours. Some of them.
Oh, you should have seen some of these. At our peak, it was like almost 2 hours. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Check out Newborn on Omletto now.
Yes.
Watch out for my next project coming out to be determined. And always stay true to yourself.
Well said.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
All right. Cheers.
All right, thank you, Ray.
Bye, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Got it.